our Achilles heel. So, for example, our deep commitment to free speech in our First Amendment. It is a cherished right. It is an important right in democracy, and nobody wants to get rid of it. But it makes us vulnerable to claims that anything we try to do to regulate speech is censorship. Of course, the Supreme Court has held that all fundamental rights, even the right to free speech, can be limited as long as there is a compelling governmental interest and the restriction is narrowly tailored to achieve that interest. But I think anytime someone tries to do anything that might limit free speech, people claim censorship. I mean, just look at the...
I wonder why.
What a fuck. Oh my God.
Anytime somebody wants to censor people, they claim censorship. Isn't that weird?
It's just so weird how she would say that, because you'd think she would flip it around and say it the other way. So at least it has the veneer of making some kind of sense, where you'd think she would say every time we try to censor disinformation, people claim that that's a violation of the First Amendment. She actually flipped it around. Every time we try to take people's speech away, every time we try to take people's First Amendment rights away, they say it's censorship. That's how she framed it.
Yeah, which is exactly what it is. Okay,
right, which is exactly what it is.
Let's play the rest.
She admits in the first half of it, like the premise is that we're violating the First Amendment. Well, every time we try and violate the First Amendment, they cry censorship.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're paying lip service to the First Amendment. Of course, we all love, oh my God, we all love the First Amendment. It's like the mafia going, oh, we all love the cops and the rule of law. Come on.
Right.
Everybody likes to have safe neighborhoods. Am I right? Come on. We would never do anything. We're just in the olive oil business here. And here we go.
The Supreme Court heard today about efforts by the states of Florida and Texas to prevent social media companies from moderating content online. And they call it censorship, that they are trying to silence conservative voices. Of course, social media companies are private actors who are not bound by the First Amendment. And so we need to have a conversation and common sense solutions to these things. Instead, we throw out terms like censorship. We call each other names. We use labels, and we all retreat to our opposite sides. We need to be pragmatic and come up with real solutions. But it is, I think, one of the things that makes America particularly vulnerable to disinformation.
So the First Amendment is our Achilles heel, you guys. The First Amendment.
Amazing.
I thought that was the greatest strength of our democracy, was that we have freedom of speech and a First Amendment. But no, she's saying that makes us uniquely vulnerable, even more so than other countries, to disinformation. Again, let me remind, and there's never someone on one of these corporate-funded news shows to make the case that the biggest disseminator of misinformation is the government. Second is corporate media. Third and eighth.
Hope you enjoyed the latest snippet from the Jimmy Dore Show. We'd love to share our thoughts on it and hear what you have to say. So let's keep the dialogue brewing in the comments section. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, follow our journey, and hit subscribe to stay updated with more content just like this. In a recent segment, Rachel Maddow, one of the most recognized faces in news commentary, raised eyebrows by warning her viewers about the dangers of disinformation, while simultaneously advocating for controls on speech that many see as tantamount to censorship. This maneuver starkly illustrates the tensions between our First Amendment rights and the push to regulate the spread of potentially harmful or misleading information. The inherent contradiction in Maddow's statement is palpable. On one hand, she acknowledges the importance of free speech, a cornerstone of democratic values, and on the other, she seems to argue for its limitation without recognizing the dangerous implications of such limitations. The suggestion that people who resist the control of their freedom of speech are simply crying wolf over censorship is a gross simplification of a complex issue. Freedom of speech is not just an abstract right, it is the bedrock of democratic engagement, allowing for dissent, debate, and the exchange of ideas. Without it, democracy could not function as it does. It is correct that this freedom, like all rights, can come with certain limitations, especially when speech can cause direct harm. However, history has shown us time and again that giving power to a select few to control discourse is a slippery slope that often leads to the suppression of dissenting voices and consolidation of power. Labeling dissent as disinformation without clear criteria and calling for its censorship undercuts the democratic process. It centralizes the power to decide what is true and what isn't within a small elite, creating a situation where the very essence of free debate can be suppressed under the guise of protecting the public. This is dangerously reminiscent of Orwellian newspeak, where speech is controlled to limit the range of thought itself. The Supreme Court's cases concerning the efforts of Florida and Texas to stop social media platforms from content moderation highlight the ongoing conflict between freedom and control. Maddow's use of the term censorship while advocating for regulatory mechanisms is not just ironic, but fundamentally flawed. Democracy thrives on the free exchange of ideas, and attempts to control this under the veil of protecting against disinformation must be approached with extreme caution. The right to speak freely, to challenge, and to hold power to account must be preserved, lest we find ourselves living in a world where the truth is not determined by objective analysis, but by the agenda of a powerful few. Thus, when prominent figures push for censorship in the name of protection, we must ask ourselves, who are they really trying to protect, and at what cost to our freedom?